This is a tornado that ripped through Kansas earlier this week. I'm going to use it to showcase a project I've been working on. A project which seeks to use 3D software to create more accurate measurements of tornado intensity. So let's start with how tornado intensity is measured right now. Well, that's kind of the problem, because tornado intensity is not directly measured, but instead it is classified using a scale called the Fujita scale. The scale classifies storms into intensity categories, but it does not give you an exact wind speed. Because tornadoes happen so quickly, the average tornado lasts only about 12 minutes, it's easy to see why the Fujita scale used to make sense. Back when it was being developed in the 70s, often the only record of a tornado at all would be the damage that it caused, which was good enough for a category, but not good enough for an exact wind speed. So what we want to do is measure the wind speed directly. And there have been a couple of attempts to do this, like dropping probes into a storm, or driving a specialized tank into a tornado. But even if these methods work, they're limited by their specialized hardware, like a car that looks like a tank. We might only be able to get a few good readings a year. So there's got to be a better way, something where we can use currently accessible technology. So how is technology different from the 70s when the Fujita scale was invented? Well, this is different. Now, unlike then, we have a whole network of tornado chasers, all with HD cameras, looking for every single tornado. There's got to be a way to harness all these visuals. And this is where I come in. I'm an animator, and I animate short films using a 3D software called Blender. Basically, what 3D software does is it requires you to build an entire world and define every single vertex in it in time and space. Blender might allow us to define tornadoes in the same way. I've loaded our video into Blender, and now I'm picking out a piece of debris that looks particularly promising and trackable, this one. And then I'm using the Blender 3D software to define it, and then track it through space. And it's a fairly straightforward process because the computer does most of the tracking work. It needs a little help because it can't figure out that there are windshield wipers going through. But what we end up with is this very nice path through space. Instead of being just pixels on a video, it's now a path through space that is defined in Blender's own coordinate system. So this particular X right here is the track of that debris, and this is the camera. The camera is simply at the origin of this world. We don't know where the camera is, and we don't know how far away the object is from the camera right now. That's our next step. All tornado chasers carry a GPS, so it would be possible to determine the exact location of the camera using that method. But I think today we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, using Google Street View. So this red line is the path of our tornado, as provided by the National Weather Service, and using that path, it's fairly easy to use Google Street View to determine exactly where the camera was. And this is it. This is how it looks on Google Street View on a nice sunny day, and this is the overlay of the tornado video. You can see how these two things match up, these bushes match up. This is exactly the spot. And from there, I can get the real-world geographic coordinate system of where the tornado crossed the road according to the National Weather Service, and where the camera is. And then we calculate that distance to be exactly 0.41 miles. And now we can use this to create a scale in Blender 3D, and with a quick calculation, I estimated that the speed of this particular debris is around 180 miles per hour. I would say that this estimate is high, and the reason why is because this camera is actually zoomed in a little bit. The zoom problem can be solved by camera tracking. In other words, defining the movement of a stationary object in the frame to determine how the camera moves through the real world. We can also make more accurate predictions by averaging the speed of debris from various camera angles around the same event. It's a start, but this combination of classic geographical techniques and 3D modeling might allow us to get closer to tornadoes than anybody else wants to.